Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Boxing Podcast with their host, Josh Size. And I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel is running rampant in the boxing culture. And it's something that's been around for forever. It's a mentality that seems to be timeless. No one can really seem to get rid of it, honestly. And before I go into this, before I move on and I want to welcome all the new subscribers. The channel's been growing and we're almost at 200 subs. I really, really want to thank you for supporting the channel. And if you like this video, if you hate this video, don't forget to jab that like button. If you have any comments, any topic ideas, feel free to reach out. Now that all of that's gone and done with, back to what I was talking about before. Something that just can't seem to die, this mentality that just can't seem to just leave our culture. And that's robberies. The idea that anytime someone loses, someone gets a decision that you don't agree with, a fight is close, but one guy doesn't get the nod. Immediately, the word robbery is used. And I mean, this is at every level of boxing. You go down to amateurs. Every time I ask someone, oh, like, how'd your fight go? It's always, I got robbed. Oh, this person was the promoter's son or ex. Oh, um, so and so doesn't like me, so they went against me. And sometimes I'll walk away, like, okay, let me go watch the fight. I watched the fight, and that person clearly lost. Had nothing to do with the robbery. They just didn't win. And sometimes, look, fights are close, whether you like it or not. It's not fair if someone slightly edges you or someone feels that someone else, a judge being that, thinks that you lost the fight. You just have to deal with it. You just weren't the better person that night. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that robberies don't exist in boxing. I'm not going to sit here and say that blatant favoritism, hometown decisions. Boxing is a corrupt sport. It has a corrupt nature. It has many blemishes on it. And I understand how people can say, hey, this person got robbed or that person got robbed, i.e., some examples given. When you look back at some of the worst decisions of all time, in my opinion, one of the worst was Ike Corte versus Vernon Forrest. Ike Corte destroyed Vernon Forrest. And for some odd reason, they gave Vernon Forrest the nod. When you look back at some notable ones too, and I'm just talking about from my era, and I'm just going to kind of go around. I know there's a bunch of robberies in boxing. I know there's literally too many to name, some instances of corruption, etc. One of the worst ones I've seen in a very long time. I'm very new to the game, I guess. I'm in my 30s. So I can't sit here and say that I've been around since a long, long time ago. But Juan Diaz, Baby Bull Diaz versus Paulie Malignaggi, which so happens to be in the state which caused me to make this video, where Paulie Malignaggi beat Diaz soundly and they just didn't give him the decision. He needed to go out there and just completely and utterly destroy Diaz in order to get the win, but they didn't want to give it to him the first time, and it was very, very controversial. Arislandi Lara versus Paul the Crusher Williams, the Punisher Williams. Fight was hotly contested. Lara destroyed Williams in that fight, and they didn't give the fight to Lara. In fact, it was so bad that judges got suspended, the whole nine. Another instance of foul play, Adelaide Bird when Mayweather fought Canelo Alvarez. I can barely figure out a round that Mayweather lost to Canelo Alvarez, and for some odd reason, Adelaide Bird had it a draw. What? Come on. I mean, that was supposed to be a easy unanimous decision and it ended up being a split majority decision, which is crazy to me. And I get why people think that. But one fight in particular that I want to talk about, and the reason why I made this video, which kind of caused controversy, and immediately the robbery card was played. Castano versus Jermell Charlo. Now, in this fight, was there a clear winner? Maybe. I think Castano won the fight clearly, in my opinion, by maybe 1 or 2 points. However, I can't sit here and say that this was a robbery. If you have 2 swing rounds, maybe you like a certain style, maybe you're influenced by the crowd. But if one judge gave it a 10-8 round when Jermell Charlo severely injured, severely hurt Castano in the ring, that plays a heavy effect on the scorecard, right? If you give a swing round to somebody that you thought maybe won, you're scoring this thing live, it affects the scorecard tremendously. So I'm not surprised that the fight was a draw. If the fight ended up being a draw, that means there was some sort of hesitation, there was some sort of doubt on who won. And Castano, as much as I was rooting for Castano, as much as I thought Castano could pull it off, I really looked at him highly as a fighter, revered him as a fighter. I thought Jermell Charlo was going to pull off the decision based off of just odds, etc., being the favorite. All these things that do play a little part. But Castano showed up. He was an underdog, and everyone loves the underdog story. But when you're watching the fight, first things first, you have to stop paying attention to the TV judges' scorecard. The broadcasting scorecard is not an official scorecard. It plays a tremendous role in influencing the audience. And I'm not going to sit here and say I don't get why they have it. I think it's a useful tool for people that may not want to judge on their own or are a little confused about what's going on. It is nice to have some remnants or organization of tabulation with scores. I get that. I think you need something like that. But we have to stop thinking that these guys scoring the card at the ringside know something that we don't. Because at the end of the day, I've seen it with the Mario Barrios Gervonta Davis card. They were saying it was a close fight. You look at the judges' scorecard, it wasn't close. If you look at the Canelo Alvarez versus Billy Joe Saunders, and this is something that even I can attest to. I was at the fight live. There was no way I was giving Billy Joe Saunders some of those rounds that were given on the TV scorecard. I thought it was close. I thought, damn, maybe Billy Joe pulled it off. But when you have that many fans in attendance and every time a punch lands, someone's yelling, you hear the punches, the harder shots, maybe graze, and some people think they hit, maybe some people don't think they hit, but in person it's just different. So you can't rely on what you're seeing on television in terms of judging. And you have to realize the judges don't have access to a television. They're not watching it the way we are. They're not seeing punches that are clearly landing on television in person. If they're in a bad vantage point, maybe they're on a side that they don't see as clear. 1 or 2 punches can swing around in a fight. In a fight like Castano versus Charlo, you got to realize when shit's close, it's close. And I think people kind of lose sight of that. No robbery in the Castano Jermell Charlo. We got to stop yelling at it. We got to start really coming up with better arguments as to what happened versus I got robbed, because the I got robbed narrative just feeds fuel to a narrative that no one ever loses their fights. And it's come to the point where I want to hear someone be like, hey, look, I lost. I lost. I don't know what happened. I'll go back to the drawing board. I thought it was close. I thought maybe I won, but I didn't get the decision. Fine. But this whole narrative of every time, oh, so and so, yeah, we got robbed. Oh man, that's bull. And it just isn't fair because one, you take away from the fighter that beat you, fair and square or not fair and square, you're taking away from the victory. Have people been giving gift decisions? Yeah. But at the same time, if you won and you felt you won, how would you feel if the person across from you is telling you, oh, you didn't win that fight? It's not fair. Basically, then what are you doing? I mean, it's like Lomachenko and Teofimo. To me, the biggest travesty here is that Teo beat you, Loma, and then now you can give this narrative, oh, these punches didn't land. Oh, I watched it in slow motion. I did this. I rewinded it back forward. But you're taken away from the victory. And then you want to feed this narrative because people don't really know. They don't know what they're watching. They don't know what they're scoring. That, oh, ESPN had it close. Oh, they robbed you. And that's the thing. These judges' scorecards on TV also influence heavily. And I don't know what the solution is, but I just wanted to bring a light to it that no, you didn't get robbed. If you can only claim that you maybe won 7 to 8 rounds, you did not get robbed because one, swing rounds. Somebody thought you won a round, maybe you didn't. It was close. They gave it to the other guy. That's immediately a 2-point swing. So you think you won 8-4, that goes to someone else. It's immediately a draw. Two, you may feel you won the round and you have to rewatch the fight. You may feel the crowd was behind you. You may feel, oh, I thought I got it, but you're in there. So you may feel like you got robbed, but at a certain point, you have to look at the tape, rewind it, see, like, hey, where could I have done better? Where could I have done this? And accept your loss so you can address your deficiencies. And I didn't see that with Castano. I think Castano thought it was a close fight. He felt he won, which is something I don't blame. I don't blame anybody for thinking they're going to win in that case, especially when it's a close back and forth fight. Anything can happen. But the robbery narrative has to stop unless it is clear. And I mean clear, like you beat the shit out of somebody and something happened that just is disgusting. Then it's a robbery. Until that is proven, until you look back and watch the fight, until there's enough outrage that it causes judges to get fired or rewatch, etc., maybe to expunge the loss off the record. Until then, I just really don't want to hear it because it's just getting annoying. Like every fight, it gets a little close. The other person wins or there's a draw. Robbed. He got robbed. Oh, he got robbed. Oh, man, come on. That was a robbery. Sergey Kovalev versus Andre Ward won. Oh, man, Kovalev definitely won. I don't understand. Rewatch the fight. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G won. Oh, how was that a doubt? Letterman said it was this. Rewatch the fight. It was closer than you think. If it's 5-7, they gave one round to Canelo and you swing it. I don't feel Canelo won the first fight, but it ended up being a draw. And they fought again, and Canelo Alvarez shut it down. So Canelo's been on the end of maybe some questionable decisions like the Lara card, which I thought Lara won, but rewatching it and kind of watching it in a vacuum and removing some of the anticipation, the excitement, the difficulties of scoring something live, and it was different. So before you call something a robbery, and the reason why I made this boxing podcast was to eliminate this kind of bullshit. Because at the end of the day, like, what are we watching if there's never a loser and a winner? Clearly, there's always a winner when someone gets knocked out. But if there's a close fight and there's some sort of disagreement, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. Does the judging need to get better? Do they need to be trained better? Perhaps. Maybe judges shouldn't be in the crowd. Maybe they should watch the live telecast broadcast. Maybe they should be eliminated from the fans so the fans aren't a contributing factor to their decision making. Because you got to realize when there's 70,000 fans, 50,000 fans, 40,000 fans yelling and screaming, it affects you because if you pick the wrong guy, you may be in trouble. And that's not a good thing, in my opinion. So maybe judges need to be somewhere else. Maybe you come up with a judging booth. Maybe you have them somewhere in the stadium where we can watch them judge. Right? You have a video camera on them. They're in a room. It's quiet. They're watching the fight, paying attention, can score. Easy. But until then, win. That's it. Wins, losses, and yes, there is a bunch of bullshit that goes on in boxing, but please play the robbery card better, in my opinion. You can't just keep playing I got robbed, I got robbed. If you lost, you lost. If you lost a fight 9-3, you lost. It wasn't a robbery. It's hard to kind of sit here and say that it was a robbery. If you lost a fight, you lost the fight. And that's it. If there's uproar about a genuine robbery where you won every round, like Roy Jones in the Olympics, like there's blatant robberies like that, then so be it. But if it's a close fight that can go either way, both guys are doing their thing, it has to stop. So let me know what you guys think about robberies in boxing. Remember, smash that like button, hit that like button, and thank you so much for all the support. We're almost at 200. My goal is 1K at the end of the year. You guys hit the first mark of 200 by the end of the month. I'm really, 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 really excited for what's coming forward. I'm going to keep dropping these, and I hope you guys like those shorts and clips. And let me know what you want. Be well.